The EU has decided to expand sanctions against Russia over the case of Kremlin critic and opposition figure Alexei Navalny.
In response to events around the situation of Mr. Navalny, we reached a political agreement to impose restrictive measures against those responsible for his arrest and sentencing and persecution. And for doing that, for the first time ever, we will make use of the European Union global human rights regime to this end.
Hey, live to our Europe correspondent Peter Oliver in Berlin. Hi again, Peter. We saw this coming, didn't we? Do we know much about what's in these new sanctions?
Hello. Well, we certainly know why they've been put in place. We still don't know exactly who they're going to target yet, but the reason they've been put in place is that Alexei Navalny, Kremlin critic, opposition figure, is facing 2.5 years in a penal colony for breaching the conditions of a suspended sentence that was handed down to him in 2014 for defrauding a French cosmetics company. We are expecting that these sanctions will target individuals in the investigative committee, the National Guard, the Prosecutor General's office and the Federal Penitentiary Service. Now, Josep Borrell, in making the announcement of these new sanctions, he said that, and it was the opinion of all of those that were gathered, it's worthwhile mentioning that this was a meeting that's been going on all day between the foreign ministers of the 27 EU member states, as well as the US Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, who was joining them down the line from Washington. They said Russia had been acting like an adversary towards the European Union.
We also agreed to do more support to all those engaged in the country, in Russia, in defending the political and civil freedoms. And at the same time, we must define a modus vivendi to avoid a permanent confrontation with a neighbor who, unfortunately, seems to have decided to act as an adversary. Unfortunately. But this looks the reality.
Well, one of those lines from Josep Borrell that the EU will look to support certain groups in Russia could well be seen by the Kremlin as an EU attempt to interfere in Russia's domestic issues. That's unlikely to go down particularly well, especially when you look at what we'd heard from Sergei Lavrov, the Russian foreign minister. Previously, he'd said that the reason that the relationship between the EU and Russia was as low as it was because Brussels had done everything it could to try and sabotage that relationship with Moscow.
The framework of the relations between Russia and the EU has been deliberately destroyed by Brussels. We must be prepared for any developments. It's up to the EU to choose. If they decide that relations must be rebuilt or reversed, we will also be ready for it.
So, new sanctions against Russia announced by the EU High Representative for Foreign Affairs, Josep Borrell. He said that we'll know in around a week's time exactly what these sanctions will entail, and perhaps more importantly, who they will be targeting.
I guess either way, a frosty spring on the way between Brussels and Moscow. All right, for now, our Europe correspondent Peter Oliver, thanks for that.